Right, we're back on the Suzuki after a bit of a layoff. I'm repairing the seat pan. As you can see, the edge along that side is gone. It's corroded away, and it's most important because you can see where this it's gone down there and it's rotting. If that rot gets to here, then all the strength's gone at the pan, because all the strength is in this curve at the bottom there. So I need to stop the rot going any further. This is quite a difficult repair for anybody who's not really into engineering or tinsmithing or welding. This is quite a difficult job for the DIYer. But if you do it methodically, it's not too bad. All you do is get a piece of sheet metal, a bit of flat metal like that. This is from the car body shop. Just sell it in various lengths. And then just lie that down. Put that on top of it like that. And just draw around that edge, around that ragged edge. Just keep rolling that round and pick up those holes there. You can see a hole there, a hole there, a hole at the end. Mark them, and then what I do is I use a little bit of paint, because marking sheet metal is quite difficult. Pencil doesn't do it, chalk doesn't do it, and it tends to rub off. So what I do is get some aerosol paint and I just spray it into a can lid, get a brush, and I just paint a black line on. It dries virtually instantly, and you can just see the remnants of the black line that I put on there, I painted on. So that was the edge, and that was cut off there like that. So just cut a piece off, it's the right size. And then you can see these little notches here. There's one there, one here. These again are quite important, because this is where most of the strength of the seat base is. If you have just a flat piece of metal, they'll tend to be very loose and wallowy. These put a lot of strength into the metal, so it's quite important to try and get these back in again, or your seat base will tend to kink across the centre. I'll be taking all this rough stuff off here, all this off, and back to decent material. But I'm not doing it just yet, because I want to kind of judge where the edge should be. So I picked up those holes, which I think they're for the seat trim. These 3 holes, I've picked them up on this piece that I cut off. So that's one hole. That's that one. And then I'm trying to work one-handed here. And bolt it, so I bolted it to there. So I'll put a bolt through there, put a bolt through there, bolt through there. So it kept it nice and tight. And then I've used my blow lamp to heat them corners up there and there, and stretch the metal into those notches, so it puts the strength back in. And while it's bolted on, scribe a line down the edge of it there. So I'll clean all that metal back. I'll clean it all up there so it's nice and shiny. I'm going to MIG weld it, but I won't cut it all fully back to there. I'll leave a lip on the edge there where my thumb is. So I'll probably cut it round about where the holes are. Just cut the rough stuff off the end there. It'll make it a slightly wider seat, but I mean, jeepers, snout. So but I need to get all the paint off so I can MIG weld it. And you can just see where I've code and marking it there. That's where this new piece will be welded on. Up here. The reason I keep stopping when I'm welding is because the heat is such that it'll blow a hole in the metal. So you're welding until it starts to look as though it's going to penetrate through and blow a hole, or better just take the trigger off for a second, just let it cool down for half a second, and you get a good weld that way. If you turn the welder down, it doesn't seem to weld quite as good. You can turn the welder down or alter the feed, but once you've got it set up and it's working, you're better off just trying to do what you can with it. It's a pocket MIG. It's an SIP pocket MIG running off CO2 gas with 0.6 wire. I've modified the wire feed. That's on another film I've got on YouTube. I've modified the wire feed and it's loads better than when it was new. So it's just a matter of just doing that, stitch it up all along, and it should be okay. Well, this is the seat base, just about finished. Once obviously less rust cleaning off the top with a wire brush and painting, but the edge is back on again. not continuous welded it, just 60 on is plenty like that. Shapes back to what it should be. So that's how I weld or repair a seat base. Nearly every bike you do, you've got to repair the seat base because they're always rusty. What happens is the seat gets ripped, the sponge gets wet, and then the metal's continuously wet. Then it never dries out, so it rots from the inside out. These edges are very often gone. The edge on the other side is okay. I'm going to salvage that. That's all right. So the rest of the seat base is quite good. It was just that edge. Of course, if you don't repair it, it ends up it's like hacksaw and just cut through the new seat cover. So that's it. It's done. You notice I don't wear gloves. You should really wear gloves when you're doing this, but if you're not used to doing things like this, then you should be wearing gloves. But I don't like wearing gloves. Wear goggles, don't wear gloves unless it's doing something really hazardous. You've got to be careful of these sharp edges when you're if you're using a tin snips, because they do get very, very sharp. You need to, if you're doing anything like this, you obviously need a MIG welder. I have a stick welder as well, which is that thing down there, but it's difficult using a stick welder. MIG welder is much better. If you didn't have a welder, you could repair it, pot riveting a plate on down the side and not welding it. You know, if you had to, you could pot rivet it on, but welding's better. Right, that's the welded edge that I've just done there. Just put a coat of paint on it. That's the piece I've literally put on. Give it a coat of paint, looks quite good. Looks alright now. It is for an amateur, quite a difficult job. But if you haven't got a welder, you really are struggling. If you can pop rivet it on, you're better off with a little welder. If anybody's doing restorations on motorcycles, I couldn't work without a MIG welder. Get yourself a decent MIG welder, convert it to run on pub gas, CO2, and I modified the wire feed, and there is another film on YouTube showing you how to do that, because they don't work as they should do out of the box.